Hale, today we are going to start talking about lines in the coordinate plane, uh, the XY coordinate plane, where we can book points, graph lines, and we're going to talk about slopes of those lines. So it's important to know that the slope of a line is the slantiness of a line, how slanted a line is. I don't know how technical the word slantiness is, but if I had a line in the coordinate plane, if you remember from last year, the coordinate plane looks like this, where we have an x-axis and a y-axis. And then we can graph a line, any line. We'll pretend my line is a straight line. The slope is how slanted it is. So how steep it is. So if you think about a hill, you would say a hill that is really steep is sloped steeply. My English is a little bad here, but so the slope is how steep or slanted a line is, and we can find that slope by looking at the equation of a line. And we're going to look at equations of lines in a specific form. We call it the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, you might have seen that. That might be familiar. And x and y are x's and y's that we're used to. This letter b is called an intercept. That's why it's the slope-intercept form. And the letter m in this equation represents the slope. So right now, that is the piece that we are focusing on. So if we have an equation with y and x in it, of course an equation always has an equal sign. If we have an equation with y and x in it, and y is all by itself, usually on the left side of the equation, then we have a equation of a line that is in slope-intercept form. And if we want to know how slanted it is, we want to know the slope of that line, we can simply look at the number in front of x. M in this slope-intercept equation is in front of x, so we are just going to go grab the number, just the number in front of x. So if I look at this first equation here, the number in front of x is 3/2, 3 over 2. My slope m equals 3 over 2. We'll talk a little bit, we'll talk more about what that means, what the slope means, what the fraction means, 3 over 2, for my slantiness in the next lesson. Right now, we're just going to find what it is. Notice I didn't include the letter x in my slope because slope is just a number. It doesn't have a letter with it other than we represent it with the letter m. So my slope for that first line is 3 over 2. For my next line, I'm looking at what's in front of x. Right now I just see a minus sign. If there's no number there, that means that it's 1. So my slope is -1. And for my last one, I'm just looking at the number in front of x. The number in front of x is -3, so my slope is -3. And just quickly, I want to point out that any slope that's a positive number is going to be a line that goes up to the right, kind of like the purple one I drew at first. Any slope that is a negative slope, that's a negative number, is going to be a line that goes down to the right. And we will talk more about these when we graph lines and find slopes in the future. So sometimes our equations are not going to be in that form. We want our equations in this form, y equals mx plus b, because if we have it in that form, we can just grab the number in front of x, and that will be our slope. But if y isn't all by itself, we need to get y by itself by doing some solving. And so you can see in these equations, y and x are on the same side of the equal sign. So what we're going to do is move everything away from the left side except for y. And we do that just the same way we would solve equations. I want to move x over here. And when I switch the side x is on, I'm going to switch its sign. So right now there is no sign. That means it's positive. So when I switch it over there, it's going to become negative. This y keeps the negative sign in front of it. 3 stays the same, and I get minus x. Now I need to get rid of that negative in front of the y. That's really a negative 1 right there. And so I'm going to divide every piece, every term of this equation by negative 1. And so on the left side, that's going to give me y, which is what I want. 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. Please use Desmos if you need to. And negative 1 in front of x divided by negative 1 is positive 1x. And I don't need to write the 1 if I don't want to. And so now I have this form where y is all by itself. I can go find the number in front of x. Right now it doesn't look like there's a number there. That means that number is 1. And so my slope is 1. So if ever I'm looking for the slope and I have the equation, I can manipulate the equation so y is by itself. So I'm going to move this 7x over. When I switch the side, I switch its sign. Then I can divide everything by 5. Five divided by 5 is 1, so I just get y. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. If you do negative 7 divided by 5 in your calculator, you get a decimal. And then when you get a decimal, if you hit this button that looks like this, it'll turn it back into a fraction, and it'll tell you negative 7 over 5. That's as simple as that fraction gets. I can look at this number in front of x now, since y is all by itself, and I can say the slope of my line, I'll pick a better color, is negative 7 over 5. So I'm trying to get y all by itself so that I have this form of an line, and that means that the number that's in front of x is going to be my slope. So one last time, I'll move x to the right. When I switch sides, I switch its sign. This minus 3y stays minus 3y. My 9 stays 9. And my x becomes minus x. Now I can divide both sides by that negative 3. Or I'm sorry, every term by negative 3. So I get y alone. 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 divided by negative 3, use your calculator if you need to, is positive 1x. And so when I look here, since there's no number written, unless you wrote the 1, that's fine. There's a 1 there. The number in front of x is positive 1, so my slope is positive 1. So as ever, please make sure that while you're doing this, if you need help, you ask for help. Please watch all the way to the end so that you can answer the questions. Be sure to answer the questions. If you're doing the questions and you need help, I'll tell you again, ask for help. Take your time, and good luck.